Welcome to Farming Aid.
When most people think of cows, they imagine something simple and familiar. A quiet animal standing in a field, chewing grass, and minding its own business. But the truth is, the world of cattle is far stranger and more exciting than that. Across different continents, cultures, and climates, humans have shaped cows into forms that look nothing like the ordinary farm animal we think we know. Some have horns wider than a car, some look like living bodybuilders, and others seem like they walked straight out of a fantasy movie. In part 2 of our journey into the most bizarre-looking cows on planet Earth, we are going even deeper into the weird and wonderful side of cattle. These are not your everyday barnyard animals. These are breeds that stop people in their tracks, make them stare twice, and sometimes even laugh in disbelief. Every one of them has a story written into its body, from extreme muscles to unbelievable horn shapes and coat patterns that look hand-painted by nature itself. So if you thought part 1 was strange, get ready. Because the cows you are about to see in part 2 push the limits of what a cow can look like. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at cattle the same way again. The Texas Longhorn is often the first breed that makes people stop and stare, and for good reason. This animal looks like it walked straight out of a Western movie set, carrying history on its head in the form of massive, sweeping horns. These horns can stretch more than 6 feet from tip to tip, making them some of the widest in the cattle world. When you see a Texas Longhorn standing in a field, it does not just look like livestock, it looks like a living symbol of the American frontier. The body itself is lean and athletic rather than bulky, with long legs and a narrow frame that gives the animal a surprisingly elegant silhouette. Add to that their wild color patterns, which can include splashes of white, brown, red, black, and even speckled designs, and you get a cow that looks more like abstract art than a farm animal. What makes the Texas Longhorn even more bizarre is how those horns seem almost impractical. They are so long that you would expect them to get stuck on everything, yet the animal moves with ease. Historically, these horns were a survival tool, used to defend against predators and to navigate rough environments. Today, they are more of a visual signature, but they still make the breed instantly recognizable from a distance. When a Texas Longhorn turns its head, the horns swing like giant curved blades, giving the animal a dramatic presence. On camera, they command attention, and that is why they continue to fascinate people around the world. From the open plains of Texas, we move to southern Africa, where the Nguni cattle bring a completely different kind of strangeness to the table. At first glance, the Nguni might look smaller and lighter than many European breeds, but what makes them bizarre is their coat. No two Nguni cows look the same. Their hides are covered in intricate patterns that look like they were hand-painted by nature itself. You can find swirling shapes, bold patches, speckles, and gradients of color that shift from dark to light in a single animal. It is as if each Nguni carries a unique artwork across its body. The horns of the Nguni also add to their unusual appearance. They curve upward and outward in a graceful shape, not as massive as a Longhorn's but still elegant and distinctive. Combined with their alert posture and lean build, Nguni cattle look more like wildlife than typical farm cows. In African cultures, these cattle are deeply respected, not just for their hardiness but also for their beauty. Seeing a herd of Nguni moving together is like watching a living mosaic glide across the land. On camera, they almost don't look real, which is exactly what earns them a place among the most bizarre-looking cows on Earth. The English Longhorn is another breed that plays with our expectations. Despite sharing the word Longhorn with its Texan cousin, it looks very different. The English Longhorn has a thick, muscular body with a shaggy coat that often looks like it belongs to a wild animal rather than a domesticated cow. Its horns are not just long, they curve downward and then up again at the tips, forming a strange crescent shape that frames the animal's face. This gives the cow a powerful, almost prehistoric appearance. The coat of the English Longhorn often appears rough and textured, especially around the neck and shoulders, where the hair can grow longer and wavier. When you see one standing still, it can resemble a statue carved from stone, with heavy muscles and curved horns that look designed for battle. Historically, these cattle were used as working animals and for beef, but today they are also admired for their dramatic look. In a quiet pasture, an English Longhorn doesn't just blend in. It stands out like a relic from another era, as if it belongs to a time when animals were larger, tougher, and closer to their wild ancestors. Then there is the Kuri cattle, a breed that looks so strange that many people mistake it for something between a cow and a water buffalo. Kuri cattle come from the Lake Chad region in Africa, and their most bizarre feature is their horns. These horns are not just long or curved, they are huge, bulbous, and almost hollow. They can look inflated, like giant balloons growing out of the cow's head. Some curve outward, others upward, and all of them are thick at the base and wide along their length. The body of the Kuri is also unusual. They are tall, long-legged animals with a somewhat narrow frame, but it is the head that steals all the attention. Those massive horns give the Kuri a silhouette that looks alien compared to most cattle. Interestingly, these horns are believed to help with buoyancy, since Kuri cattle are excellent swimmers and often cross water in their natural environment. Watching a Kuri move with those enormous horns balanced on its head is both impressive and surreal. On screen, they look like fantasy creatures rather than real livestock. Next, we travel to India, where the Hallikar cattle bring their own form of strange beauty. The Hallikar is known for its sleek, athletic build and its sharp, alert expression. Unlike many heavy beef breeds, Hallikar cattle are lean and agile, with long legs and a narrow chest that give them a fast, almost deer-like look. Their horns curve upward and slightly inward, forming a shape that makes the head look taller and more angular. What makes Hallikar cattle bizarre is how different they feel from the bulky image most people have of cows. These animals look like they are built for speed and endurance rather than just standing around grazing. Their skin often has a smooth, tight appearance, and their overall posture is proud and upright. When you see a Hallikar standing still, it looks like it is always ready to move. In motion, it glides across the ground with surprising grace. On camera, they do not look like farm animals at all. They look like athletic creatures designed for long journeys and hard work, which in a way they are. Few breeds shock people visually as much as the Belgium Blue. At first glance, you might think you are looking at a cow that has been photoshopped. The Belgium Blue is famous for its extreme muscularity, a condition known as double muscling. Every part of the animal looks swollen with muscle. The shoulders bulge, the hindquarters look like they belong to a bodybuilder, and even the legs appear carved out of solid stone. This gives the Belgium Blue a bizarre, almost unnatural appearance. It does not look soft or round like most cows. Instead, it looks hard, defined, and exaggerated, like a living statue. When one of these cattle stands in a field, it feels out of place, as if it belongs in a superhero movie rather than on a farm. People often stare at them in disbelief because their bodies look too perfect, too powerful to be real. On camera, the Belgium Blue is instantly memorable. It challenges the idea of what a cow is supposed to look like and turns it into something almost mythical. Finally, we come to the Khillari cattle, another Indian breed that adds a sharp, striking silhouette to our collection of bizarre cows. The Khillari is tall, lean, and long-legged, with a proud stance that makes it look like royalty among cattle. Its most distinctive feature is its horns. They grow long and thin, sweeping upward and outward in a dramatic curve that gives the animal a crown-like appearance. The Khillari's body is sleek and streamlined, with tight skin and visible muscle lines that show strength without bulk. Unlike heavy beef breeds, Khillari cattle look light and agile, built for endurance and work rather than just mass. Their eyes are alert, and their posture is always upright, giving them a dignified, almost warrior-like look. When you see a Khillari in profile, with its long horns cutting across the sky, it feels like you are looking at a living piece of art rather than a farm animal. What ties all of these bizarre-looking cows together is how they break the mold. The Texas Longhorn shocks with sheer horn size and wild colors. The Nguni amazes with patterns that look hand-painted. The English Longhorn brings a shaggy, ancient look. The Kuri stuns with balloon-like horns that seem impossible. The Hallikar surprises with speed and elegance. The Belgium Blue leaves people speechless with muscle that looks unreal. And the Khillari impresses with its tall, royal posture and sweeping horns. Each one shows that cows are not just boring background animals. They are some of the most visually diverse and fascinating creatures on the planet. For a YouTube audience, these breeds are perfect because they make people stop scrolling. They look strange, powerful, beautiful, and sometimes even funny. They remind us that nature and human history together can create forms that feel almost unreal. In a world where many animals look familiar, these cows stand out like living legends. They are proof that the planet still has surprises waiting for anyone curious enough to look beyond the ordinary pasture. After seeing these bizarre-looking cows from around the world, one thing is clear. Each breed we explored in Part 2 proves that nature and human history together can create animals that look almost unreal. From horns that stretch wider than a car to bodies built like living statues, these cows break every rule of what we expect a farm animal to look like. What makes them even more fascinating is that their strange appearances are not just for show. Every curve, muscle, and pattern tells a story about survival, work, culture, and adaptation. These cows were shaped by harsh environments, human needs, and centuries of selective breeding. And in the process, they became some of the most visually striking animals on the planet. So the next time you see a cow in a field, remember that somewhere out there is a breed that looks like it belongs in a movie, a museum, or a legend. If you enjoyed this journey into the weird side of cattle, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for even more unbelievable animals from around the world. Because trust me, the planet still has a lot of strange beauty left to show us.